पूजा इंस्टीट्यूट में आपका स्वागत है। मैं R.k.Sir। दोस्तों, एंड्रॉइड की स्पीड से बोला जाएगा। दोस्तों, इस चैनल पर पहली बार आए हैं तो सब्सक्राइब करें ताकि आपके पास में नोटिफिकेशन जल्द से जल्द पहुंच सके। रेडी, स्टार्ट। Sir, I rise to support the bill as it has emerged from the joint committee. But while doing so, I wish to make some observations generally and also in respect of certain clauses. The objects of the bill as originally introduced have been enumerated like this: that a litigant should get a fair trial in accordance with the accepted principles of natural justice. Every effort should be made to expedite the disposal of civil suits and proceedings so that justice may not be delayed. The procedure should not be complicated and should to the utmost extent possible ensure fair deal to the poorer sections of the community who do not have the means to engage a pleader to defend their cases. I wonder whether any of these three objectives will be achieved by this bill. Para. Let us not flatter ourselves that this amending bill as it has emerged from the joint committee will be able to achieve any of these objects. The code of civil procedure is a complicated thing. It was framed in 1908. We have streamlined it here and there. We have removed some hardship here and there and codified some of the legal decision, and we have removed certain conflict in decision. But that does not mean that the litigant is able to get speedy justice or justice at less expenses. Let us be clear about it. I do not blame anybody, but by the civil procedure as it stands, none of these objects can be achieved. I am glad that some of the provisions which have been introduced are really good. They have removed the doubt and conflict in respect of judicial decision which had prevailed. Each high court giving a different decision about a particular matter that has now been set at rest. For instance, in section 11 there was a conflict of judicial decision whether the decision of a court with limited jurisdiction can operate in a subsequent proceeding between the same parties in a high court. There was a conflict of decision and now it is set at rest by saying that the decision of the lower court with limited jurisdiction will be operate in a subsequent suit between the same parties in a court with higher jurisdiction. Secondly, it is also made clear that this principle apply to execution proceeding. I would like to say that it is a good improvement. Para. Section 60 of the original act has been amended, which has given greater concession to the judgment debtor from arrest and from attachment of his salary that will relieve some hardship. The Law Commission in its two report have recommended the deletion of this section. The bill as originally introduced also deleted that section, but the committee in its wisdom found that the notice should be there so that cases which are genuine might be settled out of court by the government, so that unnecessary expenditure need not be incurred by the litigant, and also be litigant need not undergo unnecessary expenses and worry. What this section which is being restored should not be understood in favor of the government. What the government should deem it a duty to see that whenever a notice under section 80 is received, it should examine the claim of the aggrieved citizen and see that it is settled if it is genuine, so that litigation could be avoided. Otherwise, the government or the government officer never bother to look into the notice. The litigant is at a loss and he has to go to the court. The purpose was not being served. Now I hope with this amendment the litigant will not be driven to the court or file a suit in cases, of course, where the government feels that the claim is genuine. It could be settled and avoid the litigant from going to the court. About section 100, which speaks of second appeals, they have introduced the word substantial question of law. The wording earlier was on a question of law, a second appeal lie. That is the wording under the existing section 100 of Civil Procedure Code. What they have now put the words on a substantial question of law. A substantial question of law should be involved for a second appeal. What does it mean? Suppose the decision of a suit depend on a question of limitation, where the plaintiff files a suit and the defendant contests the suit a varied by time. Is it a substantial question of law, or is it only a technical question of law? If the latter is upheld, the appeal fails. Therefore, I cannot understand why on a substantial question of law have been introduced in section 100. I think really it is taken out of the constitution, where it is stated that substantial question of law involving the interpretation of the constitution. I believe that any question of law which has the effect of deciding the result of the case should be considered as a substantial question of law. Stop.